Coming up on the WAC podcast, not one, but two teams are in the NCAA volleyball tournament. Kendra and I will talk about that. Basketball conference play, are you kidding me, in November? I'm not kidding you. We had games last night. We'll preview some of the games coming up on Saturday. And is this show going to be good enough? We're going to have Julie Goodenough, the Abilene Christian women's basketball coach, on in our second segment, as a couple of her players are setting records. That's all ahead on the WAC podcast.
This WAC podcast is brought to you by our friends at University Credit Union, the official financial institution partner of the Western Athletic Conference. We're back. Feels like it's been a minute since we've done both of us in the studio recording said podcast.
It has been a minute. Great to have you back. We've had Jess Radford filling in.
Yes.
Done an admirable job. But
Admiral.
Admiral. What was I trying to say?
I don't know.
Admirable.
Admirable.
Not an admiral. We'll talk about that a little bit. The Admiral Navy.
Okay.
As we had a triple-double against Navy.
We sure did.
Maybe that's what I was thinking of.
That's it.
But great to have you back. A lot of stuff going on. First off, we had Thanksgiving.
Yes.
How was your turkey day? Gobble, gobble.
Gobble, gobble. It was quite lovely. I had filet mignon and stone crab in
that's what I think of
West.
when I think of Thanksgiving. Filet mignon and stone crab.
In
and margaritas, probably.
No margaritas.
None. But
a rum slushy.
Oh, wow.
Sort of thing.
So,
I don't know if it's really
beautiful
slushy.
weather.
Beautiful weather. It was very nice, very warm. Didn't need a jacket, which is nice. It wasn't too cold. Had a little boat. Would take the pontoon boat out. Saw some manatees, some speckled stingrays.
Wow.
Pretty adventurous.
I was here in the DF Dub, and Wendy and I did the thing that I've seen for my entire life and never been. Dallas Cowboys on Thanksgiving Day.
Man, and standing room only. Great.
Well, you know what I've noticed here? They've gone away from calling it standing room only, and they call it the party deck.
The party deck. See, standing room only, or do you want to be in the party deck?
That's right. It has different connotations.
Yes.
It is interesting. Been to a lot of football games in my life. Never one quite like that. They do a fantastic job of having it. It is like a party, though. It's like going to a party.
Is there a DJ?
And then there's a football game going on. There's music as you go into the stadium. You go through the checkpoint. They go through your bag, whatever. And then when you get in, there's another area where you can buy drinks, you can buy food. There's like little football fields, like artificial turf. Kids throwing the football around. You can sit, you can watch the other games. They have stats, like fantasy football stats up outside the stadium.
Outside. Oh, wow.
So, and you can buy your drink, go into the stadium.
Oh, crazy.
It is. $21 for a margarita.
$21. Was it worth it?
I got the little commemorative Dallas Cowboys plastic cup that I'm never going to use again with it, that I carried around and then brought home, and now is in my cupboard and will stay there until we go through and say we have too many things, it gets thrown away.
So really, the drink was $5, the souvenir cup $16.
Probably something like that. But Dolly Parton was the halftime show.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. After what Jack Harlow put out for the Lions game, to go to Dolly Parton saving the day, saving the holiday.
Amazing. 77 years old. And doing the halftime show. It was very fast, though.
Oh,
I don't know if it felt as fast on TV as it did in person. 3 songs. It's like, what are we? Okay, is she taking a break? We're coming back. Nope.
Done. And then what do they bring out? This players leave.
Yeah.
Comes out. Boom, boom.
So amazing that they were able to get that all done in the time frame that they did. But the Cowboys won. And then here it is. We're recording this on a Thursday. Cowboys play again tonight. In Arlington, right over across the street here.
Crazy. Have yet to go to a Cowboys game yet, but
here's a little behind the scenes. It's pretty darn expensive.
I got
so the party deck is $50, $65 with tax and all that. And you don't get a seat. So it is. I don't know if I'd do it again.
Okay.
Because it is a long time to be standing, and you can't really see, like, the ones who do it all the time know where to go.
Oh.
I don't know if you saw the video of when they open up the doors and people rush in.
Oh.
And then they get the good spots.
Oh, like right on the rail.
You don't know exactly where to go. So you wind up kind of finding a spot where you can see it on the big screen. So you can't even really see the field.
And then
where we were anyway. So anyway, good time though.
Good time.
Speaking of good time, also Sunday, the NCAA announced the field for the volleyball tournament. And for the first time since 2010, two WAC teams get into the tournament. So congratulations, Stephen F. Austin and Grand Canyon. SFA getting in as an at-large. So huge for the WAC. And kind of everything kind of fell into place there because we had a team that was 27-4, had, ran the table in WAC play. Losses were only to what? Baylor. They lost to Arizona State. They lost to South Alabama. All three were top 50 teams. And then Grand Canyon in the championship game. So they get a pretty good draw where they play Arkansas this Friday.
Yeah, no, it's really exciting. I mean, for a team that went 16-0 in WAC play coming into the tournament and ending losing in that championship was a heartbreaker. And I know they were sitting on, pins and needles waiting for about over a week. Right. And so finally to have their name called, very exciting, and we'll see what they can do in the tournament.
So they play on Friday in Arkansas. And then if they were to win, they play the winner of Florida State TCU.
Whoa, which is going to be Florida State. Don't know if you guys know I went there.
I've heard that a few times. Grand Canyon, meanwhile, I thought had a pretty decent draw as well. They will be playing Washington State up in Pullman, Washington. As a team that was not the highest seed going in, that they get, they're not having to play the number one team. They're not playing Stanford. They got a team who's a 4 seed in Washington State. Not to say that that's an easy victory or anything by any stretch of the imagination, but definitely probably a better draw than if they had played a number one seed.
Certainly, yeah, give them a chance. And UT Arlington also accepted their bid to the NIVC, so that's exciting. They'll play on Friday as well against Florida Atlantic, 6 p.m. Central Time on the campus of UTEP.
Yeah, so we have 3 teams heading to the postseason for volleyball. So very exciting. Also very exciting, basketball conference play underway. And we've talked about this on the show a little bit. The way the schedule worked out this year, we have 11 teams. So there's 10 opponents in the WAC. And if you play them twice, that's 20 games. To make that happen, you needed to have like another week in addition to starting the week after or the first week in January. This is where it was landed on. And I love it. I like having a big test early in the season. Then they have a few weeks to kind of fine tune, and then we get back to conference play, first week in January. But to start things off, let's go with men's basketball. What we called our featured game of the week was Seattle U, Utah Valley. This was the teams that are picked 3 and 4 in the conference. Seattle U, of course, with 3 starters back and honestly 4 guys who played a lot last year. Cam Tyson scores 23 points, 5 rebounds, but it's Utah Valley with kind of a whole new cast of characters from last year. They wind up pulling out. Seattle U was up at the half, but Utah Valley comes back in the second half to win the game 78-72. Trevin Dorius, the big man, 7-footer, had 16 points, 7 rebounds. 12 of those were in the second half. Jaden McClanahan, their point guard, scores 19. Caleb Stone Carrawell, transfer from Austin P, he scores 20. Drake Allen, who's the headliner, only scores 4 points and got into foul trouble. But Utah Valley showing last night, I think that they are, maybe there was a feeling that, okay, Mark Madsen left, that they have 4 guys transferred to Power 5 schools from last year. They're back.
They're back. Oh yeah. I mean, you have Todd Phillips, who, was coached under Mark Madsen. And so, is familiar with, the system that Madsen was running, but really the team's completely new. And so for them to come out and kind of have that chemistry and pull out a big win against, Seattle U that has Cam Tyson and all those pieces back is pretty crazy and excites me for what the Wolverines will be putting together this season.
And when they play in January, that game is going to be on ESPNU in Seattle. So that shows you kind of the respect for that matchup by the folks at ESPN. Stephen F. Austin playing Tarleton. This was maybe the eyebrow raiser of the night, as SFA, always a great team. Tarleton Coach Billy Gillespie has stepped away to deal with the medical issues. They have an interim head coach. They go on the road to Nacogdoches and win 68-66
in the Sawmill. I mean, that's a place where SFA hangs their hats on making it a brutal environment for opposing teams to come into. It's loud, it's ferocious, as the kids say. And so, I mean, very close game, but props to Tarleton State because, I mean, they had so many new pieces as well coming in. A few of those guys back. Lou Williams, I believe, their leading scorer, 18 points, is back. Ja'Cory Smith was there last year also, I believe, 14 points. So, and then to be, have that and not even have your head coach there, and hope all is well with Billy Gillespie and thinking of him, and, hopefully he's all right. And, eventually, it was just didn't really label a time that can maybe come back and continue coaching.
And with SFA and they're going to be one of the teams to be reckoned with in the WAC as we move along. They have some new pieces as well, because in addition to Latrell Giselle and AJ Cajuste and Day Hall, Frank Stain now coming off the bench, who Utah Tech from last year, and then Jawani Stone, CBU.
Oh yeah.
So there are some familiar pieces there now coming off the bench, or getting some quality minutes for SFA. So that's going to be a team to watch. But yeah, hats off to Tarleton for winning that one in the opening game. Grand Canyon winning 79-69 at UTRGV. This one, if you look at the Ken Palm currently, the top team in the WAC against the team that's number 11 in the WAC going in, but UTRGV gave GCU quite a game. But in watching that, a couple things jumped out, particularly Tyan Grant Foster for GCU, the transfer most recently from DePaul, but started at Kansas. He's a player. He scores 25 points, gets 11 rebounds. You pair him up with Ray Harrison, who scores 21 with 5 assists. And I think, you see this early on, especially in the season, where guys fitting in. We've seen Gabe McLaughlin for 20 years at Grand Canyon. And just how does he fit in with those other guys? And what's his role going to be? Because we've seen it happen. I mean, so he has 8 points, 6 rebounds last night. There might be a game this year where he's going to score 30.
Right.
He has that capability. Sidney Curry was the big man coming off the bench. Again, not a stat stuffer necessarily, but kind of a difference maker when you watch him play, especially on the defensive end. UTRGV getting some quality minutes from Hassan Abdul Hakim with 21 points coming off the bench. We saw some different starters. J.J. Howard, the freshman, scored 10 points. So I think UTRGV maybe be playing a little better maybe than some people thinking going in.
Yeah, I think, they're always been, at least for the last couple of years that I have been here, at the bottom of those preseason coaches polls. And sometimes they have it and they show flashes of greatness, and, they never really seem to put together a full season's worth. So this is a great start for them. And then, you look at Grand Canyon, they had 3 guys fall out, Gabe, one of them. But my goodness, what a scary duo Tyan and Ray have the potential to be.
They sure do. And then California Baptist playing at Southern Utah again, the Thunderbirds in the WAC championship last year with a new head coach. CBU, a lot of new players, the brothers, the Armstrong brothers are gone. So
back to Australia.
So again, who's stepping up for them? We saw Blondo Chiqueño score 16 points, but coming off the bench, Scotty Washington, 21 points in just 17 minutes, and that's 6 of 8 from 3-point land. He was on fire.
Yeah, he's a guy I'm really excited to watch this season. And Blondo Chiqueño, he was there last year, and I think there was a lot of hype around him last year, and I don't know if he necessarily lived up to that hype. Sorry, Blondo, being real. But because their team just didn't really put it all together for the most part. And so that's pretty exciting. You have those two, and you got a piece coming off the bench that's dropping 6 threes on you.
Yeah, so CBU, a very nice win in the opening game. UT Arlington playing at home against Abilene Christian. Remember, the Wildcats defeated Oklahoma State in their opening game. That was kind of our first whacked basketball game of the year. And UT Arlington with new coach KT Turner, but some familiar faces and some players who have been players of the week. They win 86-71. So the Mavericks kind of a balanced attack. DeJuan Gordon coming off the bench to score 16, but he's more of a, not really a bench. I mean, he played 33 minutes. So he played the most minutes out of any player on the team, but he came off the bench. But it pretty tight line. I mean, only 8 players played for UT Arlington last night. So usually you don't see that this early in the year. Usually you see 10, 12 guys in the rotation. So maybe KT Turner for conference play decided, hey, let's tighten up the rotation a little bit.
Yeah, and maybe it's also a thing of trying to make practices more competitive. Hey, this is what I'm seeing. If you're not up to my standard and what I'm expecting of the team, you're not even going to see the floor during conference play until you get there. I don't know. I mean, I'm not inside his head, but could that be a motivating factor for a new team and a new head coach?
Could be. And Abilene Christian, Hunter Jack Madden, 19 points. Arion Simmons, another guy that seems like he's been around for a while with 17. Ali Diva,
for sure.
Another guy who's got a lot of experience, 14. Cameron Steele. So there are a lot of names that we are very familiar with on Abilene Christian as we go through the season. Our Ticket Smarter WAC men's basketball players of the week this week were Tyan Grant Foster is the newcomer. He's already been the newcomer of the week. I believe that was his third time.
Holy cow.
No, second time.
Second.
Back to back. And then Ja'Cory Smith from Tarleton was the player of the week as the Texans went to a tournament in California, and he was MVP of the SoCal Challenge.
Very exciting. I mean, I'm excited for Tarleton State and certainly Tyan as well. He had a double-double also. We didn't mention that one.
Oh, we
Put
did.
that out there.
Good job there.
Yeah.
I'm going to take a quick break, and then when we come back, we'll talk women's hoops.
Don't go anywhere.
Welcome back to the WAC podcast. Eric Danner, Kendra Sheehan, back in the house. You've been on the show a lot, but just we haven't been together.
Exactly.
We were in Utah together.
Yes. We did it live from the volleyball championship.
Live from volleyball. And then Jess and I were live poolside.
That's right.
In California. So we've been on the road a little bit. Wanted to quickly address men's basketball before we jump into men's basketball or women's basketball. We have games coming up on Saturday, more conference games. And then, as I said, take a break from that, go back to non-conference play, and then we jump into conference play in January. Sprint to March. We're in WAC Vegas. Speaking of WAC Vegas, Road to WAC Vegas debuted Wednesday, and you were in Vegas doing your stand-ups.
Oh, yeah.
Talked to Brian Thornton.
Yep.
You did a nice piece on the St. George Marathon, where the Utah Tech men's basketball team handing out water. I believe 13th largest marathon in the United States.
Is it? It was
a Boston Marathon qualifier as well.
Wow. That's crazy. And you know what? I was able to find parking pretty close.
That's pretty good. And then also you did the piece on just kind of having some fun around Vegas.
Oh, yes.
Which is always nice. So games coming up on Saturday. We got Southern Utah traveling to Seattle U. Two teams that both dropped their conference opener. So maybe that takes on a little bit more importance than we saw before. Tarleton State hosting UTRGV. As we mentioned, Tarleton State, big win over SFA. UTRGV, GCU loss. Now a tough game at Tarleton State. Abilene Christian, Stephen F. Austin. Both teams lost their opener. So now they're going to be kind of extra hungry to get that first win. Grand Canyon, UT Arlington, suddenly two teams that are undefeated in conference play.
Yeah, that should be an exciting one. A great test for UT Arlington to see where they're at. And
then Utah Tech hosting Utah Valley. So that's, a little battle of Utah without, Southern Utah. Maybe we need some sort of Utah Cup.
I think so.
Between the three of them.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'll bring that up maybe.
Yeah.
Or not. Women's basketball. We also had conference play actually started on Tuesday.
Crazy.
California Baptist against Southern Utah, a rematch of last year's championship. And CBU comes out on top 79-66. Chloe Webb is on fire. In case you haven't noticed, she scored 23 points. Kinsley Barrington with 21, but Chloe Webb 23 with 13 rebounds, and she's a guard.
Yeah. 5 steals. Yeah. And throw up a block for fun too.
Yeah. Just a stat stuffer. Ava Urich scoring 18 for Southern Utah. They are now 1-4 on the season, but I think played much better than that record indicates. CBU right now, the hottest team in women's basketball. They are 6-0.
Yeah. They've got some, Chloe Webb played last year, Kinsley Barrington, Grace Schmidt, Nene Calhoun, you know, a lot of these names are very familiar on the California Baptist roster. And so, you know, they're a team that gets hot from the three. And, but really, they only had 8 3-pointers. That's not bad.
That's not bad. So Seattle U with a brand new coach, they win 58-48 in their conference opener over Utah Valley. Abilene Christian playing UT Arlington 94-76. Mentioned at the top of the show, you're going to talk to Julie Goodenough in our next segment.
Ooh.
Peyton Hull, I mean, talk about on fire, back-to-back 30-point games.
Insane.
She scored 34 against Navy, now scores 31 in their conference opener, but she's not even the big story, perhaps.
No, we got Bella Earl, the junior, who I don't know if you guys all remember, but I remember her bursting onto the stage as a freshman.
Yes.
And we were like, whoa, who is this? Fast forward, she now has back-to-back triple doubles. Only 13 triple doubles in WAC women's basketball history, stat courtesy Eric Danner. And I mean, just insane statistics that she's putting up. She's doing it all over the floor.
19 points, 10 rebounds, 10 assists in 29 minutes. So again, stuffing the stat sheet, 2 steals on top of that. But UT Arlington, you know, was one of our top teams last year. Avery Brittingham, you know, transferred over there. Talia Clark. So they have some pieces, but so it was kind of interesting that, you know, it was a close ball game in the first half, you know, a lot of scoring in the first quarter, 29-25. And then it was 49-45 at the half. And then Abilene Christian really kind of took off in that third quarter, wind up winning 94-76. So big win for the Wildcats. So we look forward to hearing from Julie Goodenough in our next segment. Stephen F. Austin with their new coach defeat Tarleton on the road with their new coach.
Whoa.
80-67.
Yeah, that's it. Is Stephen F. Austin, I mean, Kyla Deck, 24 points. She was with the team last year and I think was kind of hidden behind some of their starters, and she had flashes. And I remember a couple games and one that I was at that she was really, really good. Kirsten Harden and Destiny Lombard. Destiny also won that. I felt like she was really good, but kind of was hidden. And so now that those players are gone, these new ones are just kind of really coming into their own. And I think Tarleton State, it's going to take them just a little bit longer to find the chemistry among the team. And, you know, I feel like they were a team that really started from scratch. I don't recognize many of these names on this roster with the new head coach, and, you know, it's going to take some adjustment, but big time win for Stephen F. Austin. 80 points. 80
points. And then Grand Canyon defeating UTRGV. And that game played in Phoenix, GCU winning 63-50. Trinity San Antonio, of course, the transfer from CBU, who was first team all WAC last year, 14 points. Tierra Brown, 13. Olivia Lane, 12. Shea Fano, 13. So they have, again, a lot of weapons, very even distribution on the points. And, you know, kind of a lower scoring game, it seemed like. They jumped out to a 22-9 lead. But, you know, Lane Lord is always going to be a tough out. Any of his teams that he coaches, and they have a lot of new names on their roster as well. So GCU, of course, picked to win the WAC this year by the coaches. So they start off with a 1-0 record in WAC play. And then Saturday, we have games coming up. UTRGV, as the light goes out in there, they will be at home against Tarleton. So 2 teams looking for their first win. Southern Utah, Seattle U. I know the Thunderbirds would like to get a WAC win before we go back to non-conference play. SFA and Abilene, that looks to be maybe the circle matchup of the day.
Yeah, that one's going to be fun.
And then we have UT Arlington hosting Grand Canyon. UT Arlington, of course, doesn't want to be 0-2 to start league play either. And then Utah Valley and Utah Tech. That'll be the first conference game for Utah Tech, because we have 11 teams, so not everybody could play on Wednesday, and so they will be playing their first conference game on Saturday at Utah Valley.
First look at in-conference play for the preseason player of the year, Brianna Gillen, Utah Tech.
Ticket Smarter players of the week, Kirsten Harden from Stephen F. Austin and Peyton Hull of ACU, the aforementioned. What a player she has been as the newcomer of the week.
Yeah, you can't not give Peyton Hull the newcomer of the week with her 2 30-point games. And then Kirsten Harden had 43 points over 2 matches, 2 games, Texas Southern, Rice. 20 rebounds, just averaging, 21 points a game. So she's a great piece and well deserving. Very excited for her.
So very excited for that. So we're going to take a break now. And when we come back, we're going to have your interview with Julie Goodenough on the WAC podcast.
Don't go anywhere. This is fun. Dun, dun, dun. Welcome back to the WAC podcast. I'm Kendra Sheehan, now joined by Abilene Christian women's basketball head coach Julie Goodenough. Coach, it's always good to talk to you, and especially when you got the start that you had to the season, 4-2, and starting off conference play 1-0. From your perspective, what have you liked most about the way your team has started this season?
We had a pretty shaky start, to be quite honest, and we felt like being in the Navy tournament over Thanksgiving, we really kind of hit our stride, I think, a little bit, and had kind of a breakout game against Navy. And, so we were talking to our team about, hey, we're only taking steps forward. Let's not take steps back. So I really like how we're playing right now. The last 2 games were really good team basketball.
Peyton Hull, the freshman, back-to-back 30-point games. Did you expect her to play the high caliber that she has this early on in the season?
We anticipated Peyton being able to score for us for sure. But I mean, for her to be able to do what she did in her 5th and her 6th college game is really impressive. I mean, she's a very good scorer, great shooter. It was fun for me just to watch from the sideline to see, how quickly she could get her shots off. But, that's why we recruited her and, really felt like she would fit into our style of play really well. And, these last 2 games have been super impressive.
Another player, Bella Earl. I remember talking about her when it was her freshman year, and she really just came onto the scene. We're like, she's going to be an incredible player. Well, fast forward to her junior year, she gets her 2nd triple-double, back-to-back triple-double. She's the only person in the nation with 2 triple-doubles right now. How fun has it been for you to just watch her soar?
Yeah, I mean, gosh, triple-doubles are so rare. And for her to do that in back-to-back games I don't even really know what to say about it. It's just phenomenal. And I didn't realize until after the game that she had 19 points. I mean, 19 points, that's a phenomenal game in itself. And then, have a triple-double. But Bella takes a lot of pride in her rebounding. She was our leading rebounder last year. I mean, she takes a lot of pride in that. But just her court vision and her spot on passing the last 2 games has been really exceptional. And I think she was making some good passes prior to these last 2 games, but we just were not hitting our shots. And so, to be able to get assists, you've got to have some help from your teammates. And we've had 2, back-to-back good scoring nights. And so that has aided her in her assists. But triple doubles are few and far between. So really impressive. Yeah.
It seems like you're playing a lot of great team basketball, top 10 Division I mark on Wednesday with 25 assists. What have you liked about the way the team is sharing the basketball and having that chemistry on the floor?
I don't think that you can sustain success at this level if you're not playing team basketball. Coaches are too good. They can shut down 1 or 2 players with defensive schemes. So I think it's really important that everybody get involved that's on the court, that all 5 players are sharing the ball and maybe turning down a good shot to get a great shot. And we've seen a lot of that the last 2 games. And so, I just hope our team can continue to embrace that and understand how important it is to get everybody on the court involved. And, just allows us to shoot higher percentage shots for sure.
I'm just going to keep throwing stats out here. 18 3-pointers on Wednesday. That's the 2nd most that Abilene Christian has had in their Division I era. Have you guys been really working on the perimeter shooting at practice? And what impressed you most about that?
We do. We work on threes. The thing that I was really excited about last night is everybody was shot ready, like on the catch. They're shot ready. Their footwork was good. They recognized they were open. They were ready to pull the trigger. And, you can't be gun shy in that situation. Like you've got to be ready when the ball comes to you. And again, we were making the extra passes and our players were ready to shoot. And so really proud of them for doing that. We harp a lot on footwork, just being shot ready. And so our players didn't turn down open threes last night.
And we love when our players hit milestones. Aspen Thornton hit her 1,000th career point milestone as well. What have you liked about the player that she's developed into?
Well, in my career here at ACU, we've given out a lot of those 1,000-point balls, and we've had a lot of players join the 1,000-point club, but it's generally in their senior year or maybe their 5th year. And so for her to do that just 5 games into her junior season is pretty impressive. She put up a lot of points in the year that she was not here, and then we got her last year, and she is a great scorer. She can create shots for herself, and she's a very, very good 3-point shooter as well, and she does not turn down open threes either. And so it is great in our system to have a point guard that is such a big scoring threat. It really helps us out a lot.
And I know there's so many positives that are happening right now, but there's a long way for the season still till we get to WAC Vegas. What are some things that you're focusing on in practice that you'd like to see improvement, before we hit March?
Oh yeah, we're so far from where we be in March for sure. I think that right now our team's playing with a lot of confidence, and that's what winning does for you. You really understand, when you see things succeed out on the court, you understand how important the things we're working on in practice really are. And it's fun as a coach to see things carried over into the game and see those work. But we've got to continue, working on passing. We've got to continue working on defensive stops. I mean, we scored the ball really well last night, but we gave up too many points, just trying to eliminate some of our defensive lapses. And that goes back to team play as well. I mean, we're not guarding everybody one-on-one without any help. And so, it's as important as it is to have 5 people working together on the offensive end. We've got to have that mentality on the defensive end as well. And so, we work on offense all the time at ACU, but defensively, we've got to figure out our team defense. And it's, things that we've got to drill on a daily basis.
Defense will surely be a huge component of next game for you guys at Stephen F. Austin, a tough matchup there. What are some things that you've kind of pinpointed in your film study and scouting of the Lady Jacks in order to come away with a W on the road?
Yeah, well, Kirsten Harden is playing at a whole different level, and it's her turn there. I mean, she played behind a great player, and she's doing great. It looks like everything's kind of going through her, and so obviously that'll be a big focal point for us. They shot the ball so well last night. They were raining threes themselves. So, when you've got that inside, outside scoring going on, man, it's difficult to defend. So we're just going to do a lot of studying and prepare as well as we can to play good team defense. And SFA is a really tough place to win. Not very many teams roll in there and leave and go home with a win. And so we've got a lot of work to do before we go into battle on Saturday with SFA.
And lastly, I know that we talked a little bit about this back at Media Day, but, conference play started a lot sooner than it has in previous years with this 2-game period before it goes back in January. What was it like from your perspective, going into the season, and then a couple games in, conference play is already here?
Yeah, I don't remember ever as a head coach having a conference game in November. I mean, I just never remember that. But I'm all for it. I love the round robin schedule we have where we're playing everybody home and away. I love that. And with that comes playing some games before Christmas break. And it's all relative. I mean, Sharika Wright and I, we were talking about it last night. Like, we played the same number of games coming into this. Our teams will be completely different in February, I'm sure. But it was really fun. We talked at length about we're starting WAC play, and so our players are super excited about that. And so we've got WAC played this week. We played last night. We're going to play on Saturday. But I'm real curious to see then what do we do? What do we do then when we go back? We've got about 4 non-conference games before we jump back into conference. So that'll be a little bit wonky, I guess, but that's what our coaching staff is for, to get our players then kind of check in about how important those games are to continue doing things well, even though we take a little break from WAC play.
Well, Abilene Christian has the chance to start WAC play 2-0 this Saturday. They'll head to Nacogdoches to take on Stephen F. Austin. It's a 2 p.m. Central Time tip-off on ESPN+. Coach Goodenough, thank you so much for joining and sharing a little bit about Abilene Christian basketball.
For sure. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you so much for listening to the WAC Podcast.
Thanks for listening to the WAC podcast. Make sure to follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube. And check out our website at wacsports.com.